You know, a lot of us are all kind of sequestered at home and we're looking for things. We're looking for ways to make lemonade out of lemons, you know? And a lot of you guys are taking advantage of this time by catching up on some, underappreciated gem movies or some all-time classics and things like that. And Rob and I have been trying to been throwing some curveballs out there, some movies that we would recommend, a movie that you might not have seen and might not have even thought about seeing, but you should check it out. So Rob, you're up, buddy. What is your recommendation of things people should watch at home today?
Well, my movie, I have to say, is a little unusual. And it's also one of my favorite comic adaptations of all time. Now, one of my favorite comics of all time is a Japanese manga series called Lone Wolf and Cub. A lot of people became familiar with it when First Comics started releasing it here in America with covers by Frank Miller. But originally in the early 70s, there were 6 Lone Wolf and Cub movies and later a TV series based on this comic. Well, in 1980, some very savvy American producers decided to purchase the rights for the first 2 Lone Wolf and Cub movies, Sword of Vengeance and Baby Cart at the River Styx, and combine them into not just a movie not just a Japanese re-release, not just an American version, but one of the greatest films of all time ever. And I'm speaking about Shogun Assassin, the American compilation of the first 2 Lone Wolf and Cub movies. Let me tell you, if you've never seen this movie, you can't believe how incredibly awesome it is. First of all, these American producers decided they did everything I can't stand. They took 2 movies and cut them up. They have the first 15 minutes of Sword of Vengeance, to give you some backstory, and then Baby Cart at the River Styx. Then they dubbed the whole movie. They even brought in comedian Sandra Bernhard to dub the voices of, I think she does all the female characters in the film. And then
oh my God.
it's not they didn't just they didn't subtitle it at all. They had it all dubbed, and then they changed the point of view of the film to the kid, the little kid in the movie, and they gave the kid his voiceover narration, and they hired, this is the best part, they hired one of the producer's sons to do, who wasn't an actor, wasn't a child actor, and they literally just fed the kid lines, and they said, okay, say this, and they would record him. And it turns out to be the greatest childhood voiceover performance in the history of cinema. And then they added a synthesizer disco score from I forget the name of it's not Derek and the Dominoes, obviously. It's somebody like that. They hired this band to this synth score, which is this disco. It's just awesome. And this movie has incredible graphic violence. I mean, people don't just get sliced up. They get sliced, their limbs fly, and then giant geysers of blood come out of the limb that they lost. And I mean, Quentin Tarantino patterned some of the blood from the Kill Bill franchise. He has different colors of blood in that, and the red blood that he used came from this movie. I mean, this film, I've watched this movie 100 times, and my beloved Criterion Collection.
There it is.
They released the original 6 Lone Wolf and Cub movies in this beautiful set. But not to be outdone, they also put Shogun Assassin in here too, because that's the kind of company Criterion is. This movie was considered a video nasty in the UK when that was a problem. But I mean, this movie is so, now admittedly, you have to be open to watching an American compilation of 2 Japanese films that's completely dubbed and has a funny disco score and a crazy voiceover by a kid.
Score.
Now you have to be into that. But I guarantee you, go to YouTube, watch the trailer for Shogun Assassin. And if you've not seen it, if you've not heard about it, and admittedly, you have to sit down and you have to open up your mind and let this flow over you. And I have to say, this movie has the greatest use of the word ridiculous. I mean, it's actually in the movie. It's uttered by a character, and it is the capper of one of the greatest just soliloquies given by a villain. The Masters of Death, the 3 Masters of Death that were the basis for the 3 storms in Big Trouble in Little China. When you see them, one of the Masters of Death gives a speech, and at the end he uses the word ridiculous, and you tell me if it's not the greatest use of the word ridiculous in cinematic history. And by the way, this is a movie that demands you either get high or drunk when you watch it. You should drink every time a limb is taken off someone's body, and when a head comes apart. I mean, this movie, I can't tell you how great this movie is. It's 40 years old. Actually, it's 48 years old if you go back to the originals, but Shogun Assassin was released in 1980, and there's nothing about this movie that I do not love, John. Not one thing.
I remember you texted me last night and you said you were going to do Shogun Assassin. I'm like, wait, what? Really? And you're like, really? And so there you go, guys. Shogun Assassin is Rob's recommendation today.
By the way, I have an awesome Alfrex action figure of Daigoro the baby and Ito Ogami Ito and their baby cart, because that's the kind of awesome thing that this movie represents to me. It's just everything I love about cinema and comic book movies and bloodletting and voiceover by a young infant.
All right. Well, that was one out of left field, but that's what we want to do here. We want to give you stuff you probably haven't seen. So listen, here's my pick today. My pick today is, again, a film you've heard me mention before. And it's a film that I really love, but I also know that a lot of people have never watched this thing. And Rob, it is a movie that is a dreaded phrase to some people. Romantic comedy. I know that scares some people, but there's some bloody great romantic comedies out there, and this is one of those ones. This is a movie that is 25 years old. It is 25 years old. And it's a film that proves that, in case you forgot, that Harrison Ford was more than just Indiana Jones, that Harrison Ford was more than just Han Solo, that Harrison Ford has done you even take all Indiana Jones and all Star Wars out, Harrison Ford has had one of the most incredible careers, even without those films. And the film that I'm talking about here today, that again, you guys have heard me mention it before, it is turning 25 years old and all that kind of stuff. This movie is called Sabrina. Sabrina, which was a remake of an older film called Sabrina, and this was an example of, I believe, the remake being even better than the original film. Listen to this cast. It had, of course, Harrison Ford, which was in there. You had Lauren Holly in there, of course, from why am I freezing on Dumb and Dumber? Dumb and Dumber, which is great. You had Julia Ormond, who was for a couple of years, Rob, she was the new Julia Roberts. She was like the queen of Hollywood for just a couple of short years, and then poof, just vanished. Don't know why, don't know how, but I loved her. And had Greg Kinnear, Captain Amazing from Mystery Men, and that too. And of course, it's all anchored by Julia Ormond and Harrison Ford. This is a classic story about a young girl who is the daughter of one of the servants for a rich family, had a crush on one of the sons in the rich family, grew up, went away for a number of years, went away to get cultured in France, comes back, and all of a sudden everybody's falling in love with her. And instead of the younger brother that she had been in love with, ultimately she falls for the older brother, which is played by Harrison Ford. This movie is funny. It's got emotion. It's got terrific performances, has a wonderful ending, and it's just a movie that makes you smile. And again, for me, one of the poster children of movies that prove that remakes can actually be better than the originals. Now, I've had some heated debates with some people who are absolutely adamant that the original's still better, and that's fine, that's fair. We're here to debate movies, that's great. But I think Sabrina is just a great gem of a movie, and especially one, like if you're sequestered at home with somebody else, like you're with your partner or you're with other family, whatever, this is a really good one to watch together. It's got a lot of heart and it's got a lot of laughs, and I absolutely adore this film. So, but once again, my recommendation is Sabrina. Rob, have you ever had a chance to check this one out?
Dude, I love Sabrina, and if memory serves, it even has a John Williams soundtrack.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Yes,
so,
and it is a delightful movie. I really, I do love it. I don't know if it's better than the original, though, but it's a great movie.
I still go on. I like it even more than the original. But anyway, you guys check it out. 25 years old. Harrison Ford doing his best Harrison Ford. Go check it out. All right, guys, listen.